9 out of the 10 on this year's men's freestyle world team have already been on the Baschamania podcast. And today, the 10th, Daton Fix joins the show. Once you're done with this episode, be sure to go back to the archives if you want to hear the stories and get to know the rest of our 2021 world team. That said, thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Justin Basch. This is the Baschmania podcast, and this is episode 137. This show is presented to you by our friends at Attack. Not only did they just launch an insanely awesome version 2 of their app, but the Attack preseason wrestling showdown is in play, and I'm already having fun watching it progress. I said the last couple of weeks, it's been a blast watching these guys log their workouts and have some fun. If you're new around here, from now until November 30th, 10 of the nation's top college wrestlers will battle it out to see who will outwork the rest and be crowned the Attack Showdown champion. For my guys, David Carr and Braxton Amos, to Trent Hidley and Real Woods, Attack is some of the absolute best college wrestlers in the country competing to earn some cash. I love that these wrestlers are taking advantage of NIL, and I love that Attack is putting money back into these athletes' pockets. Truly the best of both worlds here. Be sure to download the Attack app in the Apple App Store today and follow Attack on social to see who's winning and who's climbing that leaderboard to earn a nice preseason payday. They're attack.app, ATAC.app on social, and they are Attack, ATAC in the Apple App Store. Go download the app today. Follow them, give them some love, see what they're all about. Mr. Daton Fix, back on a world team. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I've wanted to have you on the podcast for a while, and this timing couldn't have been more perfect, fresh off the world team trials. So God's timing is always perfect. Happy for this. I spent my Sunday morning, I woke up at like 6, before I go to church at 9. I spent like 2 hours just preparing because I want to bring, like, you've got such a good career already and you have so much to go. So I'm excited to dive into it and go through some things. I guess we'll start with the most recent happenings. Dominant performance at the World Team Trials. You tech your now teammate, Carter Young, tech Seth Gross, then you beat Graffinato in two straight. And for me, especially those first 2 techs, after those guys wrestled back, take 3rd and 4th, it showed what kind of level you're at right now. And I'm curious, what do you think went into the dominance you put on display? Like the leading up to this, like what was your focus?
I was really excited to compete again. I took some time off after NCAAs and the trials, and I just kind of refocused myself after that. And I just, my training leading up to it was really good. I kind of got back to, moving my feet a lot more, being a little more physical, and just really focusing on going out there and scoring points. And I think that, it really benefited me.
That's a common theme for like younger wrestlers and even wrestlers of any age listening to this podcast. The importance of scoring points and focusing on scoring points is so big. And wrestling Twitter can often be like very, very divided. I don't know how much you're on Twitter, how much you're not, but it's always funny when like everybody agrees on something. And that kind of happened with you at the trials. Like everybody was saying this is the best version of Daton Fix we've ever seen. Do you feel like you made a huge jump in yourself from the Olympic trials? Obviously, you're already a world caliber athlete. This isn't your first world team. So to make levels, is it more getting back to what you know? Is it trying to jump levels? Like, what is it?
I don't think that much has changed, in my wrestling. I think, everything that I was doing, I've been able to do that. It was just a matter of putting it all together. And that's, that really came through my training. And, I'm just thankful that I'm where I'm at now. For the past year, I really haven't felt quite like myself. And, to go out there and compete how I did, last weekend, it felt great to do that again.
Yeah. And I'm curious how much like hunger comes into a year like this. Cause I heard you say in an interview after NCAAs before the trials that, not winning NCAAs kind of kept you satisfied. And you questioned you'd obviously still be hungry and want it, but it made you want it that much more. Then you go to the Olympic trials, same things happened. You're like, man, I didn't get done again. At that point, was it like doubling down on hunger? Like what was perspective after that?
Yeah. Anytime you don't accomplish your dreams, it's not easy. So, going back and, taking some time off and, really just, believing in my faith and, knowing that, God has a plan for me. And, I truly do believe that. And, just sticking to what I was doing. And I've always, lived the right lifestyle. And whenever you do that and, stuff still doesn't go your way, you start to get a little bit confused on, why the results aren't there.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
As you just gotta, believe in what, God's doing with your life. And, that's really helped me just, sticking with that.
Yeah, and this is the first time we're speaking. I'm sure it won't be the last, but Liz Spotty has told me great things about your faith, your family, and I'm curious how much is faith an important part of your career?
It's extremely important. It's I wouldn't be who I am without my faith.
Yep.
And that's something that it can give a lot of people an advantage. Just
Sure.
Knowing that you can just kind of let go and go out there and compete. And know that God's he's gonna love me no matter what, if I win or lose. And for me, that it really helps me whenever I'm going into a competition.
Yeah, and especially for a year like this, where you have the disappointment of NCAAs and have the disappointment of the trials. What's your process like mentally? Where we talk about in this podcast a lot, and I always appreciate hearing people's perspective on overcoming that loss, overcoming adversity. And you've had your fair share this year. Like, what's your perspective to kind of get back on the saddle and continue going after heartbreak, adversity, whatever it may be?
Yeah, it's just whenever you want something so bad, I'm not gonna let a couple losses derail me from my dreams.
Yeah.
And it's gonna take a lot more than getting beat to stop me from training. I've been committed to becoming an Olympic gold medalist for a long time, and
Yeah.
that's nothing's changed. And I'm just gonna keep training how I've been training the past couple months, and it's been working for me as of recently.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's funny that the interview I mentioned, you also had said in that you were trying to embrace the moment. And I'm curious how important that is to you now, more than ever, embracing being on the world team again, representing the greatest country on earth. I just had my high school coach, Bill Jackett, on last week, and he had said that, he's been coaching for 40 years. And when I was in high school, he was such a dominant coach, and he always seemed so in it. He never took the time to smell the roses. And I asked him if he regrets it, and he said, not really, because he doesn't know if he would have been this hungry or whatever. And that makes sense. But have you been focusing, even like as of this week, like I'm talking like recently, have you been focusing on embracing this journey and kind of embracing that moment?
Yeah, definitely. This past wrestling at the World Team Trials, I definitely I was enjoying wrestling, and that's something that I haven't felt in a while.
Yep.
And I think that it showed in my performance that I was enjoying it, and that's whenever I wrestle my best, is whenever I'm out there having fun, scoring points, and it just helps me kind of cut loose whenever I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And when I love wrestling so much that I should never let like a big match or a big tournament, take that love for the sport away. I should always, embrace what I'm doing and go out there with that same kind of passion.
Yeah. And I was just going to ask you, like, you hear a lot of wrestlers talk about that. Like, and I think especially Christians, I think for me, if I were ever going to coach wrestling, I'd say the two biggest things I've learned from having every great wrestler in this podcast is both having fun, and as a Christian, being able to relax in Christ and being able to just kind of have that freedom to go out there and let what's going to happen. What is the, you said that, you're getting back to having fun. Do you think there's anything a reason why you weren't having fun, or is it just trying to get your like mentality back to having fun?
I think, anytime you get beat, it's not very fun. So
This is true.
I think just going out there, just going into matches with the mindset, I'm going to go out there and have fun. It's, it really, it helps me, cut loose, like I said. And that's whenever I wrestle my best. It's, it's easy to, whenever you're going out there and you're worrying about, winning, you focus so much on winning that, you get a little tight and you don't wrestle, as well as you can. And I think that, that was the case at, both, NCAAs and the Olympic trials for me. I want to win those want to win those tournaments so bad, because those are two things that I've dreamt of doing for so long that, I did. I got a little tight, and, it obviously affected my performance.
Yeah, and I know 61 kilos is 134 pounds. NCAA's you wrestle at 133, but at the Olympic trials, you're down at 57. Does wrestling at 61, I think this is the first time we've seen you compete freestyle 61. Does that play a factor in being able to have fun, not worry about a weight cut or anything as much?
Well, I was definitely, I felt great at 61. And at the Olympic trials, I felt that was the best I've made weight, in my opinion, but it was, I just didn't put it all together, and it was, it was unfortunate, but, going up to 61, this was the first time I wrestled 61 in freestyle, and leading up to this competition, that was, something that was kind of going through my head was, this is the first time I'm going to really feel really good, going into a tournament. And, I just kind of helped that, give me more confidence going into the trials.
Yeah. And I mean, I know for me, like I had a hard time picking who I thought was going to win that weight because I had a feeling something like that would happen. I had a feeling you have guys like yourself and Soriano and Gross in there who are such great wrestlers, but it's who does put together the best couple of weeks leading up to it, who feels as good that day. So it was no surprise when you performed that good, but after those first two techs, I'm like, oh, okay. Like he's here, he's enjoying 61. And speaking of freestyle, we talk about often on the podcast. I'm trying to get Chenzo to join if you can. He's out to lunch with his mom right now. But we talk about freestyle versus folk style all the time. I'm assuming with you, it's not even close. It's freestyle by a mile.
Yeah. I've always.
Sorry, Shane Sparks.
Yeah. There's just something about freestyle. I've always enjoyed wrestling freestyle a lot more than folk style, but it doesn't mean that I don't like wrestling folk style. There's parts of folk style that, I do enjoy, but if I had to pick one, I'm picking freestyle every day.
Yeah. And if anybody at home is keeping track in this podcast, it's like 99-1 with freestyle and folk style. But speaking of folk style, it's an interesting year with COVID causing back-to-back world championships, Olympics in August, world championships in October, team trials in April, September. It's a crazy year. Have you had any time to prepare or even start thinking about the college season yet?
I haven't really thought about it too much. I've been focused on, the world championships and preparing for that. So, I'm looking forward to, getting back into the college, a real true college wrestling season where I'm wrestling every week. Cause that's something that, I haven't had the opportunity to do in, a long time, almost over 2 years. I haven't, been in the situation where I can be that active and wrestle every weekend. And that's something that, I'm definitely looking forward to because whenever you're wrestling, that often, it's only going to help me personally because then the more I wrestle, live competition, it's better for me because, when you're in the practice room, you can only, you wrestle the same guys every day and it's you start, getting familiar with each other. So it's, it's definitely going to be nice wrestling new guys and wrestling in real competition again.
I'm sure you'll say that like, whether it's freestyle or folk style, wrestling's wrestling. Anybody who prefers one style or the other typically says that. But in a year like this, like the last couple of years, you lost in the finals, I think like 2-4 in both matches, sudden victory. And, talking like about jumping levels on the freestyle scene, and you saying that, your wrestling doesn't change much. For the folk style season, do you think it's just the same thing, like being mentally in a place of enjoying it, loving it, wrestling freely? Because I'm assuming at this point, like anybody who loses in sudden victory in NCAA finals has what it takes to win, right? I know you said you're not thinking too much of the college season yet, but do you kind of make mental notes and put them down for later? Like, listen, come, before NCAA is like, I need to make sure I'm doing this. Like, is that the perspective kind of after the last couple of years in the college scene?
Yeah, I know that I'm right there with, I've, obviously been in the finals twice, losing in overtime. It's, it's real, that's heartbreaking, to lose twice in the finals, but that's just something that I don't think I'd be the wrestler I am today without those two losses.
Totally.
And it's, like I said before, God has a plan, and I I accept that, regardless of, results. It's he knows what's best for me, and I just kind of take it on the chin and move forward and know that it's it's only going to benefit me in the long run.
Yeah, and you still have 3 finals to go. Like, you still have the ability to win 3 titles. You still made 2 college or 2 world teams in this time. So you're not exactly sitting around. But last year you did have some time. You mentioned you couldn't wrestle until like February. You had that USADA suspension for unknowingly taking something. How hard was that for you to kind of be on the sidelines? I imagine, it's got to be a mental battle, especially when you didn't do something purposefully. You're sitting on the sidelines for a year. How hard was it to kind of persevere through that and keep training, keep getting better at wrestling? And, I know with business, I'm always so hungry. And when I can't do something, like if my wife wants to go get pumpkins, I'm at least thinking about it and I want to work or do whatever. But how hard was it that where you had to take some time off?
Yeah, that it wasn't it was really hard. It was a hard time in my life, just
Yep.
Going through that, especially whenever I would never take anything to, improve my performance. And
Yep.
it was hard. The hardest part about it was just, what people thought about me and what people were saying about me. And because, if you talk to me, who I am as a person, that would that's something that I would never do. And
Yep.
it's unfortunate what people say, because those words actually, people say, words, they don't hurt. The saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, words don't hurt you, but they do. Words can have effect on people, and that's something people need to learn. They need to learn that words can affect people, especially you look at athletes like Simone Biles and the tennis player. It's mental health. It's becoming much more in the open now than it was in the past, and a lot of that comes from what people are saying about these individuals, and those words that they really do have effect on people and on the performance. And just because athletes they're athletes and the spotlight's on them, it doesn't mean that they're not real people. And it's something that I had to deal with, and luckily I've battled through that, and I'm in a great spot now.
Yeah. And is that something that, you're not super active on social? You're active, but you're definitely nowhere near the most active. Does that kind of help that you're not used to social media as much? Where I feel like, for some people, you see the rise and the fall where they're on social media a lot, and then something happens and that stuff hurts. Like, I know for me, my audience is much smaller than yours, but I put out a bad episode, a stupid question, whatever. People just do not relent on their opinion. And I'm like, dude, I know for a fact you probably wouldn't be saying this if like we were at a wrestling tournament and you're just like face to face, you'd be like, hey, that was a stupid question. You should turn your mic up. Like, it's so funny what social media has done. But, even before that, you haven't been super active on social. Did that kind of help you be able to just drown it out? And obviously words do hurt. And I think people need to kind of step back and say, hey, would I like if somebody said that about me, But did that kind of help be able to drown some of it out?
Yeah, definitely. That's the reason why I haven't been, as active in the past couple of years. It's just the best way to get away from it was just not look at it. And that's that's kind of the approach I took on it. And it helped me. And because if I'm not on social media, then I'm not thinking about what people are saying and all of that. So it's I think that's definitely something that needs to be brought to light more, is that people shouldn't be able to, they say, trolls and stuff like that, internet trolls, they shouldn't be able to just say whatever they want and get away with it. It's it's just not fair for the athletes.
Yeah, it's not. And I think, especially as a Christian, I think people will often have a bigger heart for somebody that they don't know. I think it's so important to have empathy. I was just telling that to somebody I was talking this morning about. They were talking about the vaccine and people who are for it and against it. I'm like, look, at the biggest thing for me is to have empathy for other people. Who cares if you like it or don't like it? Just have empathy for it. And I think as people have more empathy for people they don't know, I think they'll be much happier themselves. But Another thing, kind of changing gears a little bit. AJ Ferrari, guy is just a character, and I mean that in a good way. He's a true personality that I think this wrestling community benefits from. We've had him on this podcast, and as soon as we talked to him, Chenzo and I called each other right after. We're like, dude, AJ Ferrari is AJ Ferrari. There's no on-off switch. There's no like, he's not turning it up. He's not turning it down. Like, AJ is AJ. What is it like having AJ as a teammate?
Anytime anybody asks me about him, I always say that the AJ that you see on social media, that's really AJ. That's just who he is. And you do as a teammate, you guys have to accept that. And it's there's nothing wrong with what he does. He's just that's just him. And I love having him as a teammate. He especially anytime you have someone that competes how he does, it's only going to benefit your team. And the thing about AJ is he's like how he is how he is on social media, but whenever he gets in the room, there's nobody that's outworking that guy. And it's
amazing.
It's truly, it's something special whenever he, unfortunately he's been out for a little bit with injuries, but he's working his way back now, and it's I'm excited for this next year for him.
Yeah, and I think overall it brings such awareness to wrestling when, whether it's being known locally on campus, whether it's people wanting to tune into a tournament that maybe wouldn't have turned into, whatever it may be. I think it's awesome. And, talking about AJ, it's hard not to transition in my mind into NIL. He's doing a good job branding himself, creating content while winning, while, like you said, he's one of the hardest working guys in the room. That's a very important component to it. And you seem to have a bit more relaxed approach to it, as we were just kind of talking on social. I think you have like 3 posts on Instagram since like NCAAs. What's your perspective on your brand and NIL and everything happening with it?
So my perspective on it is, if I'm not winning, then my brand's not gonna build. It's not gonna be very big. So I really, I'm more focused on winning wrestling matches, and in the money and all of that stuff's going to come later. And it's the NIL stuff, it's great for us athletes that we're finally able to benefit from our name, image, and likeliness, and just getting that as much, a couple extra bucks, $100 here and there. It's it's gonna help a lot of people, and that's something that it's exciting as an athlete, especially now that I have a couple years to get into it. It's only going to get bigger from here on out. So but at the moment I'm worried about winning, and money, and all that, it's gonna come as I win.
Yeah, and I think when Bo Nickel was on the show, he said something that I think a lot of people should take note of, which is, I think even if it's not a ton of money right now for many athletes, even if it just teaches you more and more now, like you look at your career, for example, if you're able to monetize on NIL deals and learn a bit more about the business side of things leading up to 2024, and then in 2024, you're out of college, and then you get some post-college deals, you have a bit more experience now. It kind of lets you get used to it, see the business side, see the deliverables of it. So I think it's super beneficial, especially for guys like yourself. You go out and win a world championship, there's no doubt you're going to be getting messages and inquiries like, hey, we'd love to be involved in this college season. So winning, definitely a huge part of that. Speaking of the Daton Fix brand, we've seen a huge Oklahoma State to MMA train over the past few years. Is that something you've considered at all?
I've definitely thought about it, but at the moment, I'm really focused on wrestling. And after my wrestling career, if I do want to get into MMA, then I have plenty of people that
I'd say
are going to be there to help me out. So it's something I'm not too focused on at the moment, but it's I definitely have avenues that I can take if I want to go that route.
Yeah, I ask because I know how focused you are in wrestling right now. I'm just so curious. Like, Oklahoma State seems to be one of the biggest hubs for wrestlers going into MMA. I think State College is going to be closed soon. A lot of guys over there going to MMA. I'm always curious at how early into college wrestling you start seeing people dabble in training and thinking about it. It's such a viable option after. So yeah, I think everybody's going to stay tuned to that. Speaking of Oklahoma State, such a storied program in a world where programs are being cut and we're trying to grow the sport. How awesome is it when things like $1 million locker room upgrade happen? Like I just saw the news. I saw John with a sledgehammer, like starting to knock out the locker room. How cool is it like that to have a program that's revered and to be a part of that, so many people are struggling and trying to get support and we're all trying to help out those programs, but to be a part of something and get that recognition and say, hey, you guys are doing great things and you continue to do, here's a new locker room.
Yeah, it's awesome whenever, an athletic department like Oklahoma State supports their wrestling program like they do. And it's I know that, our team, we're really excited for that new locker room. It's going to be, the outlines on it look unreal. Like
I want to go hang out there.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a really cool place to, hang out whenever in between practices, in between classes. And, we're going to have a full kitchen. They said that there's going to be beds in there if we need to take a nap, all kinds of stuff. So I'm really looking forward to, getting that done.
I never went to college, but if I did, I think I would have needed to go to a school and been a part of a program that has a locker room with beds and all other stuff. And continuing the theme of Oklahoma State, it was announced this weekend, Carter Young heading back to Stillwater. How excited are you for that? I know I just kind of heard Willie talking on his show about how quick it kind of happened. Sounds like he got to Northwestern. It sounds like Andrew Howe and Jimmy Kennedy might be out because they're not vaccinated. And you, obviously, him growing up in Stillwater, you reposted the photo, I think yesterday from a couple of years ago. How excited are you for him coming back to Stillwater?
I'm very excited that Carter Young's gonna be a Cowboy. It's I've been around Carter since he was in the 4th or 5th grade. He moved to Sand Springs, where I'm from, whenever I was in high school, and so he went to junior high in high school whenever I was in Sand Springs, and I'd wrestle with him pretty much every day after practice, helping him get better. And then I went to Oklahoma State, and he wrestled for Sand Springs for their high school for a year. Then he decided to move to Stillwater as well. So I've been around Carter for the past 7-8 years of both of our wrestling careers. And then it's the way he wrestled this past weekend was awesome. It was awesome.
Amazing.
To be there and be in the same bracket and even compete against him. It was it was fun, and I'm really looking forward to training with him and watching his career unfold. It's going to be something special.
It's so kind of funny to think about the 61 kilo bracket at the World Team Trials, because you teched him, and I don't know if that was just like Big Brother syndrome where he just has no chance with you or what, but he looked so dominant. I mean, that was the only match he lost was to you. And if you start talking about like degrees of separation, like absolutely incredible. And I'm assuming that did this happen quick on your end too? Like it sounds like everything happened real quick where he got to Northwestern, decided to come back. Was it kind of a surprise to you too?
Yeah, I mean, it's really happened really fast. I heard that his mom dropped him off back at Northwestern, got home, and then had to turn right back around to go get him. So it was that's about as fast as it could happen. And
yeah,
I'm just excited that Oklahoma State, that's where he belongs. He belongs in Stillwater, and I think it's going to benefit his wrestling career being here.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, anytime there's a bond like you two seem to have, that's pretty cool. Last thing here, I'm going to let you go. Your Instagram and Twitter handle is greatest ever. You're now a 2-time world team member while still in college, 2-time NCAA finalist with 2-3 years to go. How confident are you in setting out to be the greatest ever? And how much do you focus on that? Being a Christian and kind of hearing you talk and watching your story, you seem like more of a humble guy. And obviously trying to be the greatest ever takes a balance of greatness and humility, pride and ego, humility, all those things. How are you balancing that? And how confident are you in setting out to be that?
That's been my Instagram and Twitter handle since I got social media. So that's a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
That was I made it that because that was my goal. It's to be the greatest the greatest ever. And, whenever I do that, it's not just it's the greatest version of myself, really.
Yep.
My greatest version of myself ever is what I want to be, because, that's something that, people ask, what your greatest fear is. And for me, it's always been, not reaching my full potential as a person, not just as a wrestler, but as a person. And it's it's a daily reminder, anytime I get on social media that I'm working to be, the greatest ever, the greatest version of myself. It's always been my goal, and it's going to continue to be my goal.
Yeah, and I love the Instagram handle, by the way. Like it's definitely up there. I obviously, like, I'm a marketing and branding guy, so anytime there's a cool kind of handle, anytime it's a little different, I love it. I think it's setting up your brand to be something spectacular. I'm a fan. I'm excited. For those listening, Daton's competing next weekend. I believe you're first up, right? October 2nd.
Sure. Yep. First day.
October 2nd, first day of the World Championships. They start at like 3:30 or 4:30 a.m. Eastern, somewhere around there. The schedule's on my Twitter. Be sure to follow Daton. When do you head out there?
So I'm leaving on Friday to meet up with the rest of the world team. We're supposed to leave on Wednesday, but I have some class stuff to take care of, so I don't get to leave till Friday. But then we're gonna meet up in New York, and then head over to Oslo.
I love it. Yeah, because that's something totally every college kid deals with, right? Taking classes and trying to go compete overseas to win a world championship. Well, Daton, thank you for coming on the show today. Any last words for the podcast?
Thanks for having me on. It's been fun being on, and I look forward to coming on again.
You'll be back on for sure, man. Go have some fun, win a world championship, and we'll talk soon.
Yep, that's the plan. Thank you.
Awesome, man. See you.
And the beat goes on.